Hi everyone, Janey here for Garden Design. Now, if there's one plant in your garden that can do it all, I would hands down say it's lavender. Lavender not only smells heavenly, has beautiful blooms and evergreen foliage, but it's also pollinator friendly, a culinary herb, and even has medicinal uses. It pretty much does it all. This plant is super easy to grow, it's heat tolerant, it's drought tolerant, but the one thing this plant definitely needs is proper pruning. By pruning incorrectly, you can actually do more harm than good to your lavender plant. But not to worry, there are just two things you need to know to keep your lavender happy: how to prune and when to prune. The most important tip for pruning lavender is to identify where to make your cuts. Look at your lavender and identify where the woody base ends and the new growth begins. Always make your cuts into the new growth and not the woody sections. Lavender will not grow from the old wood, and so by cutting into the woody sections, you're essentially stopping all growth from that part of your plant. Use pruners or head shears to cut plants back to about 2 inches above the woody growth. Your goal is to cut your plants back by at least 1/3 the length of each stem and finish with a mounded, natural look. Now let's talk about when to prune. You need to cut back your lavender at least once a year to stimulate new growth. Because lavender is a semi-woody shrub, it has a tendency to create elongated woody stems if you don't prune the plant back regularly. Not only are these woody stems not very pretty, but they also bloom less and will eventually sprawl outward, leaving an ugly woody hole in the middle of your plant. The best time to prune lavender is mid to late summer after all the blooms have faded. The exact timing will depend on what type of lavender you're growing though, because some types, like this Spanish lavender, will have bloomed earlier than others. Don't feel compelled to prune all your lavender back at the same time if you're growing different varieties. Just watch for the blooms to fade and then get to work. In addition to pruning mid to late summer, you can also prune your lavender other times of year. For instance, if your lavender has suffered a lot of winter damage, you can always prune in the early spring. But you want to make sure you wait for new growth to appear, the new leaves to sprout, so you know where to cut. Remember, only cut into the new growth, not the old woody growth. You can always prune in mid-spring after the first flush of blooms to encourage a second flush, or you can prune in fall for further shaping. But just make sure if you do prune in fall, it's at least 6 weeks before your first frost. A lot of gardeners can be really intimidated by pruning lavender, but it's actually a really easy task once you understand the techniques and the timing. By knowing when to prune lavender and how to prune lavender, you can ensure that your lavender plants will stay robust, healthy, and will continue blooming for you year after year.